Hello, everybody. I'd like to call to order the school committee meeting of Tuesday, March 6th. I'd like to make a recommendation for a couple of changes to the agenda for the evening. Pauline Proch and Jen Iller are not able to make the meeting, so I'd like to postpone the school committee self-evaluation presentation until next meeting. And I'd also like to change the comments from the public to after our presentations and discussions, so that our wonderful community guests can make their presentation and get on to trivia night, I think I just heard. So may I have a motion to amend the agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. So without further ado, we'll go right into the science curriculum update and ask Mike Horton to come to the podium.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Michael Horton. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Assessment for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. And I want to give an update of our community partnerships tonight. We are very fortunate that living here on Nantucket, 27 to 33 miles out to sea, depending upon who you ask, to have a large number of organizations that partner with the school to provide educational experiences and opportunities for our students. So we are very fortunate to have these organizations and these scientists and educators here with us tonight because, truly the island is a classroom. There's so much going on when you look at the paper, from weathering and erosion to water quality to bird species to wave action. The dump itself is a project in itself. Moving wastewater from one side of the island to the other, renewable energy and electricity. It's just fascinating to realize that our kids have so many topics and concepts of science here at their fingertips that they don't have to venture very far to see these things firsthand. And in many ways, they're more fortunate than students in other parts of New England who might actually want to travel to see us for examples of some of these phenomenon. What I'd like to do is just introduce, and if you don't mind, either standing or waving, who is here tonight. Representing the Mariah Mitchell Association, Kim Botello and David Gagnon are here this evening. Speaking on behalf of Pauline Proch from the Eagan Maritime Institute is our own science teacher from the middle school, Amanda Bardsley. From Linda Loring Nature Foundation, Sarah Boyes is here. I don't think Seth could make it.
He's kind of stuck on it.
Sarah will mention on some of the projects that both Sarah and Seth are doing with our students here on Nantucket. From the Nantucket Land Council, Emily Molden. Sustainable Nantucket, Callan. So she must be running a little late. We'll push her off to the 5th, okay? So we'll give her some time to get here. National Grid, Kim Horn with the impending weather report for tomorrow. She had to leave today to get off island, so she's not stranded for another project. So I will fill in and cover her slides. But Kim Horn has been working PR for National Grid for the past close to a year, I would say. And she has some interesting things to share and some partnerships with the high school coming up. And last but not least, one of our partners for the Innovation Community Pathways Grant is Yvonne Valancourt from the UMass Field Station.
Welcome to you all. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
So April 2016, there's the beginning of a transition to new next generation science standards. A variety of things have been happening at each building, each level since then. Here are some of the main points of this transition. Number one, it's a balance among concepts or content along with science practices and application. Students, can't just read about science. They have to see it, they have to do it, they have to experience it, okay? There's more emphasis on engineering and technology. Just by every grade level, there's a inquiry and design standard where students need to kind of solve a problem, develop a prototype, and then observe how well it works and refine their design to improve its performance. Pretty cool stuff, very good hands-on application. The state has released a lot of documents on the DSE website about the vertical progression. You can really see how standards build from the lower grades up through middle school and ultimately into courses in the high school. Here in Nantucket, one of our biggest changes at the middle school, in the past, one particular grade level would focus on one domain, like life science or earth and space or physical science. Now, each grade level teacher covers all those domains, and that's a slight switch for us. Talking about testing, this is a hybrid year. Okay, last year we still had the old MCAS in place for science in grades 5 and 8, as well as for high school. This year there's a hybrid. Some questions, some types of questions for next generation science standards, as well as some old. So we're kind of in a transition process. And just as of last week, there still is, it's TBD for 2019 for what this transition is going to look like for the high school. I'm theorizing that let's see how this goes, grades 5 and 8, and as those students are moving up to high school, the state's going to try to time it right so students are used to a new kind of alignment of science standards. So we'll have to wait and see what's happening there at the high school for whether it's biology or chemistry or technology engineering testing in the high school. Here's a slide that actually the admin team was reviewing today, talking about the focus on practices. Okay, what happened here a few months ago, going back to December, is I reached out to all of our community partners and said, hey, look, I'm not sure if you're aware, but the science standards have tweaked a little bit. There's a little bit of adjustment process we're going through. And I met with each representative individually, and I gave them each a copy of the Massachusetts updated brand new science frameworks, okay? And I said, I want to point out the emphasis on the practices, okay? So science practices are here listed in blue, and what this graph shows is that there are some practices like coming up with an argument and defending your argument and critiquing the reasoning of others transcends math, ELA, and science. You even could probably make a case that some of these outliers here really could also be in the center of this Venn diagram, because you could say that reading complex texts, writing and speaking about them, you could apply that within math and science as well. So before I introduce Kim, last thing that we did is we took an inventory of the current field trips and opportunities that are happening K-12 for our students with all of our community partners. And we wanted to make sure, okay, if we're doing a habitats field trip in grade 4, is that the right grade to be having that field trip? Should it be in an earlier grade level, okay, like grade 2? If there is a project going on for grade 3 with the water cycle, is that the right grade to have that in place, or should it be shifted to grade 5 based upon the updated standards and frameworks? So we kind of took an inventory, and then we started looking at where the holes were. There are certain grade levels that we really didn't have anything set up. We really didn't have any island experiences set up for certain grade levels. So this wonderful group here has started brainstorming, okay, what could be some new ideas for some of those holes to fill in some of those gaps, which I cannot thank you enough. You guys are wonderful, and I'm really excited what we can accomplish as we move forward. So as each group comes up tonight, I asked for 3 things. So just give us a little summary of your organization. Tell us a little bit about your organization. What have you been doing with Nantucket Public Schools in terms of partnerships and activities and field trips in the past? And then what might be some possible ideas and projects we could try to figure out together as we move forward, okay? So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Kim and David to come on up and speak about the Mariah Mitchell Association, which if you go to NIS, okay, Eve Marie and Elise, and talk about this is Women's History Month, correct? And you have a big giant bulletin board all about Mariah Mitchell in the foyer. So you gotta go check that out.
I need to see that too myself. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Kim Botello. Before I get started, I just want to thank Michael Horton for really gathering us all together. It's truly wonderful to be part of a collaboration of educators on Nantucket. As for Maria Mitchell Association, we were established to honor the life of Maria Mitchell, who was the first female professional astronomer in the United States. She was also a naturalist on Nantucket, so we honor her by doing programs related to the land, seas, and skies of Nantucket. So we offer quite a bit of programming. I am going to look at this screen, pardon. As of now, we do beach exploration trips for the entire kindergarten classroom. This year, I was a guest reader for the second graders. We typically do a beach exploration with quadrat study for third graders, but the last time we've done that was in 2016, just because they did not request it. Every year we try to take part in the enrichment cluster for third graders, which is going on now, and we focus on reptiles of Nantucket for that program. We do bird adaptations classroom programs for all of the fourth grade public schools. We have a Trees in the Community program for every fifth grade class, not only public but private schools. For this program, it includes an in-classroom portion, and then we come back, we give every child a tree to plant, and we do a planting demonstration. And through that program so far, we've given out over 900 trees to island children. We partner with the Land Trust to do, the Land Council to do the vernal pool program for fifth graders. Really, Emily is the lead on that. We just give her some supplies, and I'll tag along and help if I'm able to. We've been invited this year to be part of the Leading Ladies classroom program, and so the director of astronomy, the director of natural sciences, myself, and our curator of the Mitchell House will be attending that program. Let's see. We are the coordinators for the STEM Fair, which is basically the statewide science fair. I just want to stress that we just help facilitate this program. We seek funding for it. We work with the teachers to gather students, but it's really an island-wide effort. Both ladies that are here tonight, or maybe all three of you, take part in that and serve as professional real-world scientists, mentors to students that participate in that effort. This year, unfortunately, it is not happening. We just didn't get buy-in from the teachers or the students, and this is really unfortunate because there aren't many communities where you can have access to scientists, having kids in the field with them, learning how to do real science. It also includes a lot of prizes. The top prize gets $500, second prize gets $250. One of the reasons that it doesn't get buy-in, I believe, is because the students don't get any credit at school, and I wish that was something that could change. We also provide internships for high school students during the school year and during the summer. If they help us during the school year, they have there's a possibility they could be hired during the summer as a paid intern. We mentor volunteers in animal care with middle school students, so they come in and basically take care of our reptiles and amphibians during the winter. We work really closely with Patricia Harding at the elementary school to help fill our full scholarships for the summer discovery program. All of the scholarships she's helping us with go to ELL students, occasionally non-ELL students that just have a great financial aid. She also helps us fill some of our partial scholarships that give 80% towards that program. We typically offer 2 6-week after-school series. One in partnership with the community school. One is in the fall with an animal focus. One is in the winter, and that's more of an astronomy focus. Not in partnership with the community school, just on our own. We also offer an after-school discovery program in the fall, and in that one we pick kids up at every school and we'll take them out to different habitats around the island. Let's see, one of our biggest events that's coming up very soon on March 17th is the Nantucket Science Festival. We partner with the community school to put this on. A lot of other organizations help with this event, but it brings in around 375 people from around the island, completely free of charge. It's an all hands-on science day. It's so much fun. I hope to see all of you there. It's from 10 to 2. It'll be at the gym at the high school. Let's see. Historically, we offered science kits to teachers. When I first started back in 2014, I guess a year later, I started doing a needs assessment of island teachers. And although there was some interest expressed in that, I had maybe one or two teachers that actually sought to use them. They were all free of charge. Since then, those kits have been broken up, and we've been developing our own kits to use mostly during our summer programs, but they would still be available many more topics to teachers if they were interested in using them. In 2008, this was before I arrived here, there was a full science curriculum developed in partnership with the elementary school that still exists. I know there are some teachers that are still using it. I'm sure, especially now with the next generation science standards, that would need updated if we wanted to continue using it. As far as proposed programs with the public school system, really we offer anything. It's all free of charge. Teachers just have to contact us. Right now, I am a staff of 1 in my department, so I'm pretty maxed out at the moment, but if it's in my wheelhouse of life sciences, that's something that's really easy to accomplish. If it's outside of that, we do have our director of astronomy that does help with programs. We may be starting a program with the 6th graders in the next 2 months, which will be exciting to get into the middle school with that program. Once I have a new staff person year-round, it opens up a lot of room for growth. Particularly, I'm interested in offering more after-school programs. I'd also love to start doing more preschool programs and develop that curriculum up. And another thing that I learned during that assessment of teachers is that their highest priority was for us to develop programs around our facilities, which is great. We are hoping to eventually have a new science center. Right now, we only have one. Our Natural History Museum is the only one that could be open during the winter time, and it's just such a small space. We couldn't have tons and tons of students at once, but it is a priority for me. Once we have a new facility, that we will do that for sure. And do you have anything to add?
The only thing I wanted to add was that we will have the Science Center. You all remember the Science Library at Mariah Mitchell? Mm-hmm. It was up on Vestal Street. Well, that's being transitioned over the last few years, and it will be, and we're going to have our grand opening in May, so you all heard it here first. So aren't you lucky? But it'll be a really a neat space. It'll be set up so we can do research there as well as do classroom work. It'll be state-of-the-art AV and equipment that we'll have in there. So we're very excited about that, and really designed more for the older kids, but it's going to be a great space for them to use, and we're excited to talk about ideas that you might all have.
And I'm sorry, I just wanted to add one more thing. This past fall, I spent a significant amount of time redesigning our summer discovery programs. They are now all they all meet the next generation science standards. They also, I kind of matched some of them up with other core curriculum standards, including health and writing. And so another possible partnership with us is to look into the idea of kids that have to go to summer school especially for science, for them to be able to get credit during these outdoor field experiences, because they really are amazingly high quality.
Do any committee members or Natalie or Mr. Fraser have any questions?
I do not.
Next up is Amanda Bardsley from
Thank
Eagan
you very
Maritime.
much,
Thank you.
both of you. Hey, Amanda.
Hello. Good evening. I'm speaking on behalf of Eagan Maritime Institute tonight. Eagan Maritime Institute has 4 different divisions. The first is the Nantucket Shipwreck and Lifesaving Museum, AcWeather, Mill Hill Press, and then Sea of Opportunities. And Sea of Opportunities is the education program. And the strategic plan summarized nicely what we're trying to accomplish. So I'm just going to read this quote. Nantucket's connection to the sea is not an artifact from the past. It remains a real and important component of who we are as islanders. The desire to shine a light on and strengthen this part of our culture is at the heart of Eagan Maritime Institute's work. Embracing our seafaring heritage is more than a historical imperative. It is a timely opportunity to create both personal and professional opportunities for Nantucket's young people, especially for those who could benefit from them most. So, taking that strategic plan, our 3 points or goals that we're trying to accomplish are to educate students to embrace Nantucket's seafaring heritage, raise awareness of maritime career opportunities, and we want to do this all through experiential learning. And we want to reach diverse students in a way that we can reach all the students. So, whoops, there we go. We have 2 programs right now that are supporting science. The first one is my class, which is the Oceanography and Maritime Studies class at CPS. So every single 8th grader takes this course. And this is a result of a partnership between Nantucket Public Schools and Eagan Maritime Institute. It is an interdisciplinary curriculum that is relevant to our students. And we're trying to expose them to Nantucket's maritime history, trades, and sciences. Obviously, we want to do experiential hands-on learning with a focus on sense-making, but more than just doing hands-on learning, it's the sense-making piece that is so very important. We want them to make sense of and critique the questions, methods, findings, explanations, and arguments. So taking it a step further from just doing, but then making sense of what we're doing. We also offer tall ship sails. These are field trips that can be tailored to teachers' needs. They can have a history focus, but sometimes they also have a science focus. And we have overnight opportunities focused on team building and individual empowerment for 8th grade. This is a 3-day sail on the Lynx, and we'll be excited to offer 2 of those, 2 trips for 8th graders this summer. And high school takes a 7-day sail on Fritha, which is Northeast Maritime Institute's boat. And in those opportunities, they can also build in science experiences.
Any
That's all I
questions
have.
for Amanda? Amanda, thank you so
Sure.
much for representing. You did a great job.
I just feel like I should add that because Pauline's not here, and I'm sure she would say that for many of the children that participate in, particularly in that high school 7-day overnight voyage, it's really life-changing. And we've had some students who might not otherwise be engaged in completing their high school graduation that as a result of that dug in, and now a couple of them I know are going to Mass Maritime as a result. So it's been a wonderful partnership.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike.
All right, up next is Sarah Boyes from the Linda Loring Nature Foundation.
Hi, Sarah. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you all for having us here, and thanks to Mike for inviting us. I'm Sarah Boyce from the Linda Loring Nature Foundation. I'm the Director of Research and Education, and Seth Engelberg couldn't be here tonight, but he is our naturalist educator and program manager, so he does a lot of this work as well. At the Linda Loring Nature Foundation, we do a lot of different things, but we're kind of in the business of improving environmental literacy for our community. So we work with all age groups from, basically preschool to elderly, but we work with all of the island schools, preschools, daycares. We work with homeschoolers, and all of these different community groups that we reach out with to come in all different forms. So I'm just going to talk today about what we're doing with the public schools, but there's lots of different opportunities for research, education, and outreach. And so our current programs with the Nantucket Public Schools come in a few different forms. We have kind of individual field trips where we have kind of one experience with kids. We have, for example, for the last 2 years, we have the all kindergarten field trip. They don't come out all on the same day, but we have, because that would be insane. But each kindergarten class comes out and we have a nature experience, kind of a focused nature experience. But that's kind of a one-time program. Whereas some other individual classrooms, we have a project that we build on. We have programs where we come into a classroom and do one lesson. We have done STEM fair mentoring for individual students. I will reiterate what Kim said about STEM fair. The big we of the island scientist community are kind of hoping that the STEM fair becomes more popular again, and that there's a home for it at the high school or maybe the middle school. We have a great island science community to tap into, and everybody's very willing. And so I hope that we can do whatever we can do to help continue that and promote that. I would be, you can sign me up. Seth has also done some work with the AP Environmental Science classes. And we've been involved with the enrichment cluster programs as well for a diversity of different topics that we have a specialty in. We've also, which not on here, but we've done some individual mentoring for either homeschool students that want individual science projects. So that's an opportunity that we have where we can provide individual research opportunities, whether it's someone tagging along with me doing research or we help design an individual project. We have flexibility within our work to do that. So because we do research on our property, it's really easy for us to kind of involve students in the work that we're doing or help design a project around that. So our proposed future collaborations, we, as kind of, I guess Kim said, being a staff of one, we are a staff of two. And so we by no means want to do all of these, but what we looked at was looked at the science standards and looked at where there were some gaps in outreach and where we felt with both our individual expertises and what we have done with other schools. We do work with some of the private schools. So programs like we do a lot with weather and climate, and my own research works with climate change. So that would be a very easy thing for us to kind of design a project around, or whether it's in the classroom or a field trip component. And then Emily Molden's going to be speaking next, but Emily and I have worked together to design a habitat lesson for the second grade, and working with Nantucket's local habitats, and so hopefully we'll work on something, whether or not it's this spring or next year. And and I'll emphasize too that we a lot of us that do these work with the schools, it's really we have all this programming available or this expertise available, and it's just the interest of the teachers too. If teachers are interested, then we can make something happen. We don't charge for any of our programming, and we can often find funds for supplies. So that's something that we can do as well. Yeah, I think that's it.
Sarah, I just want to acknowledge that the smiles were that we got a text message that in the boys championship basketball game, the score is currently 49-23 with about 3 minutes remaining in the third.
Woo-hoo.
So when you heard big smiles and chuckling, that was not only about your riveting work, but also
You could
about
just let me feel that much.
I was laughing about it. I know you're laughing with
It's the
everything.
pictures, though.
Sarah, thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Melissa. Oh, sorry.
Next, I'd like to introduce Emily Molden from the Land Council.
Hi, Emily. Welcome.
Hi, Melissa. Thank you. And thanks again to Michael for helping us put this all together. So I'm Emily Molden, and I'm the resource ecologist for the Nantucket Land Council. And we are primarily an environmental advocacy group on the island, but our mission is more broadly to help protect and preserve the island's natural resources. And we've always felt that education is really fundamental to that. So when I was hired back in 2004, the board really gave me the goal and objective to get more involved in the local schools. At that point in time, Mariah Mitchell was doing a lot more in the summer and not as much year-round, which obviously has changed significantly, which is amazing. And my board really wanted me to engage more of Nantucket's students year round in the environment and with some environmental educational programs using Nantucket as a classroom. So I have a list here of some of the primary programs that I work on with the public schools. And as Sarah said, some of these are a series of field trips. Some of them become just a single classroom visit or a classroom visit followed by a field trip, kind of depending on the grade and the teacher's desires at the time and the curriculum. So I've just started over the last couple of years trying to do a series of seasonal walks out in Squam with the first graders. And again, have worked with the third grade enrichment clusters for a number of years on a couple of different topics. One of the sort of trademarks that the Monarch programs and the vernal pool field trips, I think we've been working with the fifth graders on for over 10 years now. And that's been amazing to see that evolve and to see the teachers really begin to own some of that curriculum. And I see them come out now for the field trips with their students, and they literally know all the answers to my questions. The teachers are priming them and really incorporating it into their curriculum ahead of time, which it's nice to see that consistency over time makes a difference in how the students are able to really retain that information. Some water quality programs with the 6th grade and with the 8th grade with Amanda Bardsley I've done some work with in the past, and also on and off a bit with some of the high school environmental science programs. As was spoken of before, we've done a little bit of brainstorming, and a few of the things that I'd really like to add is collaborating with hopefully Sarah and Linda Loring Nature Foundation to do a program with the 2nd graders on Nantucket habitats. And also have spoken with Michael about, with some of the recent shifts in the standards, maybe moving the erosion work I've done with 5th grade into the 4th grade. So we'll be working on that. I also have had some exciting conversations with some staff members from the town's natural resources department who were really interested in working with me on some programs dealing with our marine ecosystems and the shellfish work that they're doing out in the harbor and some of the water quality work that we're doing. So I'm hoping to pull some of those town employees into the school as well. And again, we'll work with Michael to see where those programs will fit the best as far as grades go. The only other thing that I thought I would just touch on, aside from echoing and just saying ditto to all of the comments about the science fair, the STEM fair, was that we also have a educational grants program that the Land Council has had for, I think this is actually our 25th year. And we provide funding to teachers and students for environmental or science-related project activities that they want to do in the classroom. And that has taken on a number of different forms. A few of the things that we've funded kind of consistently over the years is a stipend or some additional money to go towards the 5th grade field trip to Nature's Classroom. We've done that for quite a while now. We also, a couple of years ago, we helped the Nantucket Lighthouse School bring down somebody from the Engineering as Elementary program out of the Boston Museum of Science to do a workshop on some of the curriculum programs, STEM focused, that they produce for teachers. And we had a little workshop on island that a number of the public school teachers attended. And then in subsequent years, we helped to fund the purchase of some of those kits for them to use in their classrooms. The 5th graders, and I'm not sure who else, have used those. So I'll continue to try to push that grants program because we budget a chunk of money every year to try to give away for science programming that teachers want to do with their students, whether it's curriculum materials or field trips. And some years we have a hard time giving it all away. So.
And Emily, you do offer that scholarship or stipend for science fair projects.
Yes.
I know Amelia used that in her science fair project a couple of times, I
Right.
think. And so it's helpful for students and teachers to know that if their science fair project requires resources, there's opportunity to get support.
Yes, absolutely.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you for making that point. Yes, we did also open up that funding to specific science fair projects, definitely. Yeah.
Cool.
So
Well,
I think
does
that's
anyone
all I
have any questions for Emily? Thank you.
Thank you.
It was 54:28 at the end of the third, if anyone's curious.
So I'm going to pinch hit for the next two groups. It's for Sustainable Nantucket. Callan couldn't be here, but I did find a flyer that she gave me. So I want to give each of you of these, and then I will put more up on the railing so the public can grab one on the way out if you're interested.
Thank you.
Sustainable Nantucket, one of their major programs is the Farm to School program, and you'll see Callan working in the garden quite regularly, which is right by the central office in the back of the soccer field. She also goes into classrooms quite regularly. She works with teachers and actually teaches lessons for kindergarten students. She'll actually take a class across the soccer field and they'll work in the garden on soil. She'll go into the first grade gym class with Rochelle Baudet and talk about nutrition. Here, actually, there's a picture here. So here's Callan in the gym. I know that this is happening regularly because I just got some pictures from my daughter dressed up as an apple. Okay, so she does work in first grade, and then she also has really added a lot to grade 3's inherited traits unit. As a former educator, she gets curriculum planning and development, and she's been a great asset to our school. And I can't thank her enough for her work going directly into our classrooms. Moving on, as I said earlier, I'm sorry Kim Horn could not be here. Kim, formerly of Autism Speaks, has been working as a PR representative for National Grid. Just about a year ago, when she first began, she reached out to Nantucket Public School teachers to set up a one-day professional development workshop on a Saturday. And teachers from pretty much every grade level, from grade 1 all the way through high school, attended the day and had, I believe we had breakfast and lunch catered, and they paid us a stipend to participate. And we tested out Smart Power's Need Project's energy kits. I think there were 6 to 8 different stations, from bouncing rubber balls and then putting them in hot water and see which one bounced higher after they absorb some heat. Looking at an Apple battery, trying to get electrons to move from zinc nails to copper wires, to how things move or bend in flames, looking at how hot hand warmers work. It's just endothermic, exothermic reactions, putting some baking soda and vinegar together. So it was a whole day of hands-on science. And that was pretty cool because we've been able to put those kits in place in 4th grade this past term 2 for an energy unit. So thanks to Kim for making that happen. For the future, and she also has done some assemblies for younger kids on Energy Explorers. Now, she's looking to expand that into middle school and high school. And I believe she's reached out with Dr. Bucky. I'm not sure if she's reached out yet to Dr. Cohen about an Energy Explorer club, around the ideas of conservation of energy. Maybe you've seen at the Dreamland, if you go to see a movie, feature film, before the film, there was a little PSA from National Grid and talking about, don't run your dishes at night when you go to bed. Wait till the next morning when energy use is a lot lower. Or between 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. at night, try not to crank up your air conditioner because that's when everyone is coming home and using their showers and their hot water heaters and air conditioning and all of that. So she has a project to actually one-up that video and have high school students produce short films as a little fun video competition. So that's something she's working on. I said, hey, why don't you talk to John Shea and the film festival? Maybe it's something you can get connected for the project in June. So I know that she's been in touch with Dr. Bucky about trying to get that going at Nantucket High School. So a neat idea. Stay tuned. Stay tuned of where we are with the third cable and whether we're going to do batteries on the island. I know I think there's 3 different organizations competing for the wind power off the south shore of the vineyard. So there's lots of fascinating things going on around energy and renewable energy sources, and Kim's our connection there. All right. Last but not least, UMass Field Station, probably a completely underutilized resource on our island. And if you haven't been out there, you gotta get out there. Maybe not when it's blowing 50 miles an hour, but maybe later this spring. But Yvonne Valancourt is gonna talk more about UMass Field Station.
Hi, Yvonne, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Michael. And thank you, everyone, for coming to listen to us. There's a great, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, the microphone's for the TV audience,
Oh.
just so you know.
Oh,
So you can project for Yes.
good to know.
You are on TV, my friend.
So, yeah,
That changes it.
Please stay.
I just want to say, as a fairly new person here, I've been here about a year and a half, the science community is fabulous. It's you guys are great. I mean, it's we meet a lot, and so I think what teachers need to hear and what the school committee needs to hear is that if you reach out to us, we all find out as well. So we really have a great community, and it's a huge resource. To try to make the most of our resources, because we're all sort of these single staffers. My intent initially is to really focus as much of the university's resources on the high school. Everybody, as you can see so far, has been putting a lot into the lower grades, and that's great. And the field station welcomes all grades, all people, obviously. I'm open to working with any of the instructors. I do have a lot on my plate like everyone else, and so to best make use of the resources, I'd like to focus on the high school and getting dual enrollment down here. And I've been working with Kelly Cooney and a great group of people, and I don't want to spill the beans on everything there, but we basically are doing great. We have a planning grant that came through. So we're hoping to get an implementation grant so that we'll be able to bring courses down and get high school students enrolled so they can use the course as part of their high school requirement, but also so they leave high school with some college credit. I can't get into all the details of that, and I'm sure Kelly will be at some point, but that's a really big deal. And I think that's something the university can do well, and that's what we should be doing down here. With that, because it's not alone, and it's not just the university, I would be spending a lot of time trying to bring down the courses, but in addition, it's part of a career pathway program, so we would be offering internships and a host of other ways to introduce students. And not just the ones that already know they want to go to college, it's really geared towards everybody so that you can get exposure, you can have support and experiences that you might not otherwise come in contact with. So it's intended to meet all the different students we have from all over. I do have some groups that come out to the station. Some of them do self-guided tours. I'm happy to work with any teacher who wants to do that, so you can be a little more independent. What I think is great are the people you've already heard from are willing to do their work that they've coordinated in a number of habitats, and we have all kinds of habitats at the field station. That's one of the reasons it's such a jewel. So you should come out, walk around, look around, and contact us. You could contact me or any of the people you've heard from directly. But like I said, the main focus of what I'm trying to spend my time on right now is with the high school and college, and adults as well. But certainly speaking to K through 12, that's our main concern. I don't know if I had any other. I mean, we've had some changes for those of you that knew Sarah Octay well, and I know a lot of people did, and she was very instrumental down here in working with a lot of different groups. We've undergone some changes, so if there were things in place, I'd be interested in hearing about them, but we did regroup quite a bit, and so there, if you feel that things kind of fell by the wayside, bring that up, but I think you'll find that there's other places. There's such a wide range of really talented people that are great down here that I think we can share what we do with everybody. And I'd be interested in knowing what else people would like to see come down from the university so we can bring other things, other specialties. I don't know what the high school does as far as genomics or DNA work, how much is done in the classroom, in the laboratories, but that's an area I'm hoping to have a little bit of a core in the lab. And our lab's been renovated for anyone who hasn't been out there, so that's kind of a bonus. I'll not keep you any longer, but thanks again, and please contact me if you have questions.
Anybody have any questions for Mike or any of our guests on? Oh, you've got one more slide, sorry.
Well, I don't know, Yvonne, if you wanted to, some of the pictures you had included of this field station.
I've never been up there. I don't know if it has or hasn't been, but that's a modest lab, but it's really nice inside. There's a picture at the very bottom of the teaching space. So half of it is lined up for teaching and half is for research. So it's a little more user-friendly, I think, and modern. We have a marsh that's really taken a beating this weekend. Our dorm is up at the top, you can see on the right. So we have beach front access, we have an estuary system. We also have a freshwater pond, and we have 2 streams. And it sits on about 100 acres that Nantucket Conservation Foundation owns now. I'm sure most people know that, but if you don't, they are the owners, and we manage it. We manage about 62 of the 100 acres. So we're real partners with the Conservation Foundation, as well as NBI, which is the Nantucket Biodiversity Initiative Group, which is pretty much all the other stuff. Thank you.
So as we were meeting, I noticed a common thread that kept coming up was that many of these island organizations also partner with Nantucket Community School to offer after-school and summer programs. So I'm sorry to say that Katie Manchester could not be here tonight, but Katie kind of heard about us meeting, said, hey, I'd kind of like to be there and showcase that Nantucket Community School works with Linda Loring, works with Brian Mitchell, as well as Sustainable Nantucket. And as you can imagine, all our scientists and educators here all kind of overlap and work together along with some town officials and town biologists as well. So it is a neat little niche that we have here on Nantucket, and we were very, very fortunate. In conclusion, there's so much more, okay? As you know, look, it's 46 minutes, all right? And it's time to wrap it up. But I could go on for hours. That the Boston Museum of Science, we have an overnight trip for our 4th graders. They see an electrical show on Thursday night, and then on Friday, they go in the Omni Theater and they go in the planetarium. Nature's Classroom is 3 days, 2 nights over in Brewster at Camp Wingate Kirkland. 3 days of science experiments, investigations, observations, and projects. Everything from dissecting sharks to going out in the woods and figuring out how to build a lean-to and survive the night in case it rains. Really fascinating stuff. Strong Wings, Chris Couture takes our students out just about every afternoon, 6 to 8 students, and they explore different land bank properties. They'll just go and they'll say, hey, turn over that rock. And the kids will get so excited about all the salamanders, they'll jump out from underneath the rock out in Swamp. They'll track animals and look at footprints, what is edible, what is not edible, also some survival skills. It's pretty neat stuff. You heard from Yvonne, and a few weeks ago, you also had a presentation with Kelly about the Innovation Pathway Grant. That's very exciting, waiting to see how that pans out. And the last but not least, we have a lot of school-to-career opportunities. We have students at Nantucket Marine. We have students at Nantucket College Hospital. There are students who are getting kind of their, interest or their feet wet in different science fields as they look to decide what they want to do post-graduate, going into college or going into career. So I'm going to wrap it up there. But
Awesome.
There is so much more. And I can't thank you all so much for coming, and we'll have to meet again to follow up with what we can do, especially what we can do about bringing the STEM fair back or getting a little more, student interest into that project.
So does anybody have any questions?
I just have a minor question, Mr. Roy.
Yep.
Does Plymouth Rock fall on that list? Speaking of rocks, you mentioned a rock.
Yeah. So
Is
grade
it STEM?
3 has a day-long trip to what was the Mayflower replica, but this year it was in renovation, so they went to the grist mill, which personally, and don't let people in the Mayflower hear this, I thought the grist mill was more interesting than the Mayflower. But yeah, students go to Plymouth Rock. That's more of a social studies.
Oh, okay. I
Massachusetts,
couldn't
Pilgrims and
remember.
Wampanoags, grade 3. But yes, there's lots of other field trips that we have up there.
Tim, any questions?
No, I think there's a lot of opportunities, and I think there's wonderful experiences out there. I know my kids enjoyed it very, very much, and I think these types of collaborative efforts really help the schools.
Absolutely.
I just want to say, we're school committee, and yes, it does help the school, but that's a wealth of knowledge that the community as a whole could benefit from. So hopefully that'll be incorporated in some of the community school offerings or something. I think that adults can get their education. I've been here 30 years, and I'm not afraid to say I've never been to the field station. I'd like to go, though. I'm thinking of, my own field trip.
I think Yvonne's phone number was in the
I wrote it
packet.
down.
I'd like to echo that statement. I have a child who's gone through the high school and participated in the science fair, and many of you supported her team, as well as the School to Career program, which has been phenomenal. So it's impacted my life personally, and I want to extend some gratitude to all of you, and also to your board of directors. I think that you are on the field doing the work and collaborating with our students, and they're helping raise money to support these programs and want to support them. So we appreciate their effort and commitment to our children. And thanks, Mike. I'm really hopeful that your position is going to really help continue these great partnerships and these programs, and also ignite some new ones. So thank you all very much. This was a fantastic presentation. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
So don't go far, Mr. Horton. We've got our annual district report card. You've got 30 seconds.
Great.
Just kidding.
Can I add? I forgot one thing with the science. We also have this partnership with the Tufts Medical School. We had a mini medical day last summer for 8th graders to get 8th graders excited about science, and they spent a day in July. We're looking to bring that back and do 2 days this summer. Dr. Leppi was part of it. He gave us tick samples. So I had no idea there were so many different types of ticks here on the island. So the kids looked and compared and contrasted to
Fantastic.
different types of ticks.
Fantastic.
So annual report card. Each year, each school is required to share publicly a school report card that is provided to us by the state. Okay, so we had to get that out at the minimum. Okay, the bare minimum to parents in a variety of methods back in January. Okay, I'm sorry this presentation is a little bit late. We had different things with weather and some postponements. But back in January, what we did was the bare minimum, okay? And now I'm going to talk about what we have here. So if you go to the district website and you scroll down to the DSE, Department of Education link, you can go to district schools and profiles, and just click on it, and the map of Massachusetts will come up. And you kind of keep drilling down here. So I'm going to click on our county, and click again, our county. And then each school comes up here, okay? So if I went to Nantucket Elementary, the state has pre-prepared, okay, under accountability, all the data that we reviewed that was released from the MCAS last spring. But up here, there's a complete report card, and then there's a report card overview. So if you look at the report card overview, we emailed this to all parents back in January. Okay, so all elementary school parents, and including intermediate school, because intermediate school didn't exist last year, this basic report, which has a variety of accountability data and information in it. Okay. very basic, very just blue and white, 2 colors. This is the bare minimum. For families that did not have email access, we mailed home hard copies, okay? We've posted this on our district website. So if you go to any of the schools, you can find that school's official DSE Massachusetts school report card. We also have these available in the front of each office. Now, if you remember a year ago, Mr. Kozar brought a really neat idea from Shaker in New Hampshire is, well, what if we went a little bit further? What if we made a more detailed, comprehensive report? So what you have in your packets is a district annual report card, okay? So it has all the data that I just referenced you can find here in these overviews, but much more, okay? So if you look through that, I'm gonna get out of this here in a second. You can see that it is already improved over last year, okay? And I don't want to go through page by page because that'd be up for another 46 minutes, but Amy Gammons helped me add a bunch of pictures. So to the eye, that's one major change you'll see right away, okay? We added a few pages. All right, this is the letter, by the way, that we sent home, that we're required to send home to all parents, and we sent this home in English and in Spanish, just as the bare minimum. But what I'm asking for tonight is your approval of this, document. Can we post this as our district report card and make this available? I'm going to print a few copies to have in each office. So if a parent is hearing out there or a parent comes by and they want to get pretty much all the information in one place, they can pick a copy up of this district report card. I think we talked about last year, it'd be pretty cool. Could you leave this at real estate offices, Boys and Girls Club, Stop and Shop? So as you scroll through here, I want to point out a couple new differences. Is that towards the end, this is where the report ended last year, but the future plans of last year's graduating class. Oh, and by the way, this is all last year's data. This is basically everything that happened from July 2016 up till June 2017, okay? When we have town meeting later in April, you'll have kind of a smaller version of this report that each department submitted for the town report. And the school submits a part from each department, each school, which also includes athletics. So I took Chris Morey's information from his budget presentation of athletic participation. So this is a new component this year, the page with the big Whaler W, as well as a technology piece, okay? So I got some information from Karen McGonigal and included that. So this is an addition in the report this year. And last but not least, I kept thinking, oh my gosh, last year, how can we submit an annual report and not talk about the new school, okay? Like 30 years from now, someone looks back in a time capsule in this annual report from 2017, there's no mention that we built the Nantucket Intermediate School. So I talked to Diane, and she gave me kind of the bullets. This is not everything that the facilities and grounds department accomplished last year in 2017, but these are some of the major projects. And right there, the top was the expansion first at CPS for the grade 6 wing, followed by the completion of the brand new school. So I don't really want to take up too much time because it's all in there. But I hope that this is to your satisfaction. It's something that we could basically make our official district report card, Logan can put on the website, and we can have available at each building's office. And this is kind of an extra thing that we just wanted to provide a little bit more comprehensive information than just the raw data that you saw in the overview report.
Any comments from the committee?
On the back, this is just a minor thing. Because when you read through it, can it just say facilities department completed projects for the school year? So we know it's not just projects that were on the list, but there were projects that we actually completed.
Mike, I think this is fantastic. I think you've done a really great job. I think that for our seasonal residents and non-voting taxpayers, it is a really critical piece of information that I know they're often looking for to understand the student population and the impact, the growth the school has seen on our budget. So I think this paints a really lovely picture of our students and our families and our accomplishments. Does anybody else have any questions or anything to add to that?
I found it very readable.
Yeah.
Uh,
It takes a lot of complicated information and makes it very
Yeah.
digestible so that the average person who's not involved in this day in and day out could get a nice understanding. The only other thing I would ask to add is just contact information
Okay.
for you or the superintendent if anybody did have questions, that they would know who to follow up with.
That's a great suggestion.
Do we want to have a motion to adopt
Yeah,
that?
sure.
Subject to the amendments that you made and that Zona made?
Yes. So is there a second on Tim's motion?
Before I make a second, I just like it with the notation that if we see any more tweaking, that we would do that.
Of course.
Okay.
Yep.
Second.
Yeah, if there's something that's missing, we would love to know,
Yeah.
what you might like added.
Absolutely. Thank you. So the motion is made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, Mike. This is great work. Okay. So we'll move, is there a score update at all, Mike?
I haven't been watching.
Uh-huh, okay. Just, there is, they won, yes, great, fantastic. 74-48.
Nice.
And I also want to congratulate the girls' basketball team. It was a devastating loss for them by 3 points, I understand, but what a wonderful season that team had. So we'll give them a huge hug through the TV. That was a great
Great
season.
job, Whalers.
Great job, Whalers. So moving on to comments from the public. Mr. Dixon, hello.
I'll just tag team off of that last talk about the boys' victory in the basketball. I can just talk briefly about athletics in general here. Because I was thinking about this the other day, and I was talking with my older sister. She graduated from college in 1970, and she was a phys ed teacher. She went to become a phys ed teacher at my father's old school, and this was Title IX. I think Title IX was 1973. And over the years since I've been on Nantucket, I sent her links to our athletic website because she left the teaching profession and went on to hospital administration after about 6 years. So she's been basically away from it. But just to look at, in general, in schools in general, particularly high schools, the way they've developed over the last 40 years since Title IX, it's absolutely mind-boggling in terms of the participation and availability and opportunities of sports for girls. But to look at what's available on Nantucket is just, it's stunning. I know John will tell you that I don't think there goes a high school principal's coffee where there is, I don't marvel about something about the athletic program. And and not just the program, but the facilities as well, because parents tell me who follow their kids off island for matches in various sports that our facilities are much better and greater in number in terms of baseball fields and things of that sort. And it's, I think Chris Morey said that 67% of our high school students participate
Something like that, yeah.
in one sport or another. But, it's just the opportunities that are now available that were not available 20, 30, 40 years ago. And on top, and I'm not even getting into all the titles. I think Chris said they won 5 titles, between football and swimming and lacrosse. But just the way that the sports availabilities and the facilities here, and don't get me started on the pool, because what Mr. Pignato does, not just for the school, but for the community, and what the community school does, through Mr. Pignato, is absolutely breathtaking. I've swum at many facilities across the country over the years, and I have to say, and I hate saying this in public, because I don't want people, to know how great that facility is. So that
You don't want to rush on the
it
pool.
doesn't get crowded. But I know good facilities and I know bad facilities, and there isn't anything, and I've swum at university facilities, you know, just as a participant, not as an athlete. And there isn't a better, I have never encountered a better well-run facility than our pool. And the other sports facilities are just fabulous, and the opportunities are really, really unbelievable. And it just keeps getting better and better. I know I'm going over my 3 minutes, but just in the last couple of years, they added cross-country and volleyball, and you see these groups of kids, some of them are like in what, 5th or 6th grade, who are out there on the bike path, running after school. I mean, this is a wonderful cross-country venue, and the idea that, you know, you just keep adding stuff and adding stuff. It is, it's one thing that, especially as an island, and I'm going to finish with this, it's one thing to really, really need this stuff, because we obviously really, really need it, but it's also another thing to actually have it. And we not only need it, but we also have it. And it's just, and for a drop in the bucket. And one last thing, obviously, these people who do the coaching are doing it for a lot more than that lousy stipend. You know? They just are. I mean, the stipend doesn't, they don't do it for the money. And one last thing, what I noticed over the years, and I really haven't been too active in visiting sports lately, but what I had noticed is how the teams, all the teams, improve over the years, particularly basketball, something that I, as a spectator, I can see. I mean, the basketball team, they're just winning a title, but you can tell that the team at the end of the year is working better as a unit than they were at the beginning of the year. And that just speaks to the kids' discipline and the coaching that they get and the availability of facilities. So that's it.
Thank you very much. I indulged in the over 3 minutes because it was such a wonderful testament, especially on such a great night to celebrate our student athletes. And I just want to add to your comment, Mr. Dixon, that, and Natalie knows this, student athletes have to work so much harder to keep their grades up because of their travel schedule. And I think you'd be hard pressed to find other kids who have to, work with bad Wi-Fi on rocky boats. I don't know if you wear the little bracelets to not puke and do your homework at the same time, but I think it's a feat that a lot of adults can accomplish. So thank you very much for your comments. Any other comments this evening? Wonderful. We'll move on to committee discussion and votes to be taken. So may I have a vote to approve the MOU with the NTA and Nantucket Teachers Association and the Public Schools collective bargaining agreement language change for separation benefit.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. A vote to accept the donation from Jennifer and Christopher Ferreira to the NHS gift account for the NHS Woodshop program of $1,500.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the Ferreira family. It's very generous. A vote to approve policy IMA, teaching activities and presentations.
Move approval.
Second.
But this is the first time around?
It's the second,
Second?
yeah, but it's been a month.
Okay. Memory's going. Move approval.
Thank you. I actually do remember this. Is there a second?
Oh, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. A vote to approve the February 6th, 2018 meeting minutes.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And a motion to approve the transfers and invoices for February 20th, 2018.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a transfer and invoices, motion to approve transfers and invoices for March 6th.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. And a reminder, it's in our packets, but we will schedule the school committee self-evaluation for discussion at the next school committee meeting. Mr. Cosworth.
Okay, couple of things, if I may go off the script a little bit. We have somebody in the audience I would like to acknowledge. Tracy Roberts, who's in the back and has been coming to several of our school committee meetings recently, has been named the new director of the Nantucket Community Schools. Tracy, we're glad to have you. Thank you.
Yes, welcome.
You have in your packet the model evaluation process for superintendents. Massachusetts has that unique, distinctful, I'll leave it at those two adjectives, process of evaluating the superintendent of schools publicly. So the school committee typically meets in a workshop and then comes out of that workshop and subsequently reports to the public on that. And we can talk about that when I get to on the horizon.
Perfect.
If
The
you'd like.
dates. Sure.
Mike,
Yes.
is that a workshop or an executive session?
It's executive session, you're right, and then you report on it in
Report
public
on it.
session. Thank
Yeah.
you for clarifying that. So there is a process. Administrators will be giving their evaluations of me. I will give you a self-evaluation, and then you'll use that to individually on the school committee do an evaluation, and then you will pull all of that together and collate it and collectively report out.
And that's going to be Zona and myself.
I think you two won the lottery. Enrollment, we have the March enrollment figures, which are pretty close to the February, and the totals are the same. Each school changed a little bit. We don't have the differences for the entries and withdrawals. I apologize, but without Logan, there's a few things that are challenging for me to extract from the data. But we'll make sure that that's available at the next meeting.
Thank you.
I think that, again, this is part of the horizon, I guess. You probably want to reschedule the April 3rd meeting, given that that is going to be the night of the annual meeting.
Right.
So I suspect that you will want to go to April 10th for that. Now, we may have an organizational meeting prior to that, which we typically do. It's a morning meeting where the school committee determines a chair and vice chair and its officers, and then we get into subcommittee and task force assignments.
After that meeting, though, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
the elections.
Yes, it has to be after, yeah. Then if you're looking at the March 20th, I wondered if you wanted to do your executive session prior to that meeting. You could do that maybe at 5 o'clock and then roll into the meeting and report on that, because we do have a March 31st deadline.
Yes, I think
for
that's
that.
fantastic.
So we're in pretty good shape. Pauline Proch is not here today. She's probably headed back right now. She was with the culinary arts team as they competed in the state competition, and they came in third.
Just
So share that information. We're proud of Tom Proch and his charges.
absolutely.
And I think we still need to maybe bring them in on the 20th for some tasting
That would be
at that meeting. We've done that before, and
Yeah.
I think it's always a fun.
It's my favorite.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. I think we're pretty much on target.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Are there any subcommittee work groups?
I guess I was going to mention one other thing, and I didn't know if you wanted to hear from Karen McGonigal. The school committee knows, and maybe a few people in the audience, that we did have a cyber attack about a week before February vacation. It was a challenge, but not to the degree that it might have been. And so I want to recognize Karen and her team who pulled us through that with minimal damage and just it really was a Herculean effort because they had to go through every device in the district to cull out those machines that had been encrypted. And I don't know if we want to just recognize Karen or if
Thank
she
you.
wants to
And from what I
answer
understand-
questions
I
for
think
you.
if she can give us a little
Sure.
quick synopsis.
Come on up,
Come
Karen.
on up, Karen.
So it's on
Yeah.
record.
I also understand that there was minimal disruption, obviously some, but I think for as bad as it could have been, your team did a fantastic job keeping the ship sailing.
They did an amazing job. So basically, this started for us on Monday of President's Day. I started getting texts and calls from a few users that decided to work on the holiday that they couldn't get into the system. And both Joanne and Johnson and I were off island, and we met on the 305 boat and got settled in Cape here about 5 o'clock, and discovered that what we thought was the issue wasn't as simple as it appeared to be from a distance. We discovered that we were victims of a ransomware attack. So we obviously notified Mr. Kozor immediately of the situation and what we planned on doing, and we got in touch with our engineering firm that we use for network engineering, and got in touch with their security expert to identify the type of ransomware it was and determine a course of action. This took quite a bit of time throughout the evening, and so the next morning, that night I sent out a notification to everybody about what was going on, a little bit more basic than what we knew at the time, because we really didn't have all the facts at that time. And then I also printed out signs to put around to the school, and Dr. Bucky ran around the high school putting them out. I was down at the elementary school and intermediate school. We got everything out, and then they made announcements for people to not utilize our Windows devices because this was a Windows-specific attack. So Chromebooks and Apple devices could be safely used on the network. So our students and teachers were able to use Google Drive. The Exchange mail server was still operational via webmail. And we worked with the security expert throughout the day, identifying exactly where this payload was on individual machines. And we tried to identify the computers remotely, but that didn't work very well. So thus, Mr. Kozar mentioned we went out, we broke up into teams and physically touched every single machine to identify which ones, and there were about maybe 20 throughout the district. Wow. And we marked them with red dots so people wouldn't use them. At the same time, we went through our databases and our backups and determined that none of our databases had been affected. So we were able to get up our NutriKids cafeteria point of sale system so they could continue to sell stuff to the kids. We were down until around towards the end of the day on Friday. And the reason we were down for so long is not because we had data damage or damage to the network, but because we wanted to make sure, number one, the network was secure from the way this attack came in, and number two, that we identified every single machine that could potentially trigger the payload again. This type of ransomware comes in from remote services, and it basically hits on once it gets in, it hits on your network trying to figure out passwords. So it'll eventually hit on something that's not secure and get into the system that way. So we have done some mitigation. We have required staff to change their passwords to industry standard format that's more secure. We're continuing with our on-site redundant backups. We have our primary backups up here, and we also have a secondary redundant system down at the intermediate school so that if one gets hit, the other one is there. We're also going to start storing critical data on Amazon Web Services for long-term storage. And we're going to continue to engage the services of our security company to analyze our network make recommendations and configure changes, and then perform what's called a penetration test, which means they basically try to hack your system. And we'll probably schedule this for at least once a year, maybe every 6 months, just to make sure that we're on the right track. And then we're going to continue to evaluate our strategy periodically to make sure it's working for us and make any necessary changes. And that's what we've come up with so far. So we got through not totally unscathed, but we did get through this. It highlighted what we're doing very well and also highlighted what we could do better. And like Mr. Cozart said, my team did a great job, and also Sarah Erickson in the central office helped us out, and she did an amazing job as well. So they are to be commended.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a great work.
Now, on subcommittee, I did send out an email today that we have a tentative agreement for a collective bargaining agreement with the TAs, the teaching assistants. And with that finished and 2 other bargaining units to negotiate next year, we're going to try to start one this spring, so that we're not doing 2 at the same time next year. And we're going to start with custodians. We hope that might be a quick one. So we will be looking for 2 board members to serve on that negotiation.
Great. Fantastic. And you are having a coffee on Thursday morning?
Coffee on Thursday. Obviously, with the events that have unfolded in the last few weeks, safety and security is on the minds of many, if not all, of our parents. I hope all, and our staff. And so I'm going to talk about some of the many things that we have done. Diane will join me, and the school resource officers will join me. We will share most of what we do, but we really never share all of what we do in terms of safety and security, because there are certain measures that it doesn't serve us to broadcast.
Great. Thank you for doing that. Natalie, anything from your end of the woods?
Student council is pretty busy. We've got some things coming up, but one thing that's really set in stone is the job fair that I talked about a few meetings ago, I think.
Okay.
We have a date set. I don't know if it's in March or April, but it's set.
Okay.
And so I think it's a half day maybe, or it's an advisory that students will be using the gym and the cafeteria, and all Nantucket businesses will be setting up tables if they want, and there will be people to help students fill out job applications and stuff like that. So that's going to be great.
And are these mostly for like summer positions, internships, or after high school?
They're mostly for summer jobs,
Awesome.
and internships.
Cool.
Things like that.
Very
and
cool.
Our school's also going to be participating next Wednesday in the school walkout for 17 minutes to
Excellent.
honor the 17 lives lost at Stoneman Douglas. So
Great.
it's also something to look forward to.
Absolutely. Thank you for organizing that. Anybody else? Okay. Well, thank you all. It's a great meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You want blue ink?
I have it.
Oh.
Look at me.